So guys, what if Naruto and Yasaka were couple deceitful god? Naruto had finally arrived. His heart was doing a $190 at how close he had been to getting caught, but he still managed to succeed and making it to this place with the sacred scroll of the village. Now, all he had to do was wait for his teacher to arrive so that he could finally become a genin. Glancing back towards the village, the young Uzumaki hummed thoughtfully. He had been able to get away nearly unseen, although he had to resort to cheap but also strangely effective tactics against his Jijie, K.A. Here is in Saratobi the third Hokage, but who would thought that the kind old man the village looked up to for wisdom and guidance was a major pervert. Still, he didn't feel like belittling his good fortune, and it was still pretty early until Mizuki was supposed to arrive, laying the scroll down in front of him. His blue eyes looked at it with curiosity. What was so important about this particular scroll anyways? Allowing his curiosity to get the better of him, he opened it to take a peek. The first thing he saw was a jutsu, a technique that shinobi were able to use. It was a clone technique, and he couldn't help but pout as he felt like pulling out his hair. After all, it was a clone technique that caused him to fail, which is why he was taking this makeup test. But he gave it a closer look. Unlike the one taught in the academy, this clone technique made solid clones and required a great deal of chakra, the energy that shinobi used and everyone had within them, but it was also a life force one could not live without it. It amazed him that it only required a single hand seal, which was the form of crossed fingers and an addition symbol. Deciding to give it a try, he copied the illustration of the hand seal and concentrated, bringing forth his immense chakra and whispered, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." Naruto kept his eyes closed as he heard a popping sound. He had little hope that it would work, which was why he had also whispered instead of declaring the jutsu. Cracking a single eye open, he took note of a perfect copy of himself sitting across from him, opening both of his eyes fully as he observed his copy's appearance. From the feet up, he saw blue ninja sandals, worn down bright orange pants that were quite large and held together by a rope, an equally orange jacket with blue on the shoulders and a thick white collar, and the swirled tassel that old man Hokage had given to him when he first started the academy. On the copy's face, he saw his 3 whisker birth markings on each cheek, bright blue eyes with a hint of violet in them, and his spiky sun-kissed blonde hair. It was a perfect copy of himself, all the way down to the green pair of goggles he had. "I can't believe it," he gasped. "It actually worked." "Yup, looks like it, boss," the clone replied while grabbing the original to prove that it was solid. "That was very easy. But why did this clone technique work so easily? But I can't perform the academy one." The clone simply shrugged. "I don't have the slightest clue." Naruto was about to continue speaking to his clone, but suddenly both Naruto and his clone felt a weird sensation. Glancing up, Naruto noticed what looked like a gaping hole in the sky as something fell out falling towards him. Both the original and clone's once confused expressions were replaced by shock, concerned looks on their faces, as well as a small amount of blush. XXXXXXXXX. Kyoto was the Yokai capital of Japan and the home of the Western Yokai faction, ruled by Yasaka, the daughter of Tamamo, an ancient kitsune created by Amaterasu. Yasaka had become the ruler of Kyoto roughly 64 years ago after she reached the level of power needed to maintain the ley lines, an immense spiritual power flowing throughout the city of Kyoto. Despite being groomed into the position of leader, Yasaka couldn't help but wonder why her. She knew it was because she was a 9-tailed fox, the rarest breed of kitsune, a.k.a. a fox yokai, the absolute pinnacle of all yokai. But she never wanted this position, nor did she want to be trapped in the city forever, but she knew better than to bring up the subject to her mother Amaterasu. So she bit her tongue and hopefully waited for some fool to take her position. Now don't get it wrong, she loved the people of Kyoto, both the humans and the yokai. But everyone looked at her as if she was a prize to be won, which was another reason why she hated being trapped in Kyoto. And worst of all, the moment she was given the position of leader, her mother left Kyoto and pretty much hasn't been seen since. Sitting in front of a beautiful koi pond outside of a large ancient Japanese-style palace was a young woman who appeared to be in her early 20s, with a voluptuous figure and very long blonde hair with matching eyes. She has delicate facial features, and her eyebrows are cut very short and round, a symbol of nobility. Her hair was held back by a traditional hair ornament, but 6 golden beer cans ashi and several red cans ashi. She was wearing a traditional shrine maiden attire and has 9 golden fox tails and matching ears. Yasaka stared into the clear pool of water as she watched the various types of koi fish swimming with one another. The reflection of the moon could be seen in the water as well. "I wish there was something more out there for me, as I really don't want to be stuck here for the rest of my existence," the beautiful vixen thought to herself. Yasaka then reached into the sleeve of her maiko as she pulled out a pure black gem. She held it in between her fingers, almost playing with it before squeezing it tightly. She remembered what Amaterasu told her about this gem. It had the power to dump anything it was thrown at into another dimension. She had thought about this many times using the gem on herself. As she was getting sick and tired of hearing the elders moaning and groaning about her taking a mate, they would always offer up arrogant, rich and quite cruel yokai of different races ranging anywhere from Inugami, monkey yokai and Karasu Tengu. "I wonder what will happen to the city if I leave." I'm sure they can find someone to take my place. I'm sorry Hahu, and you as well Amaterasu-sama, but this just isn't for me. I hope you can find it in yourself to forgive me, Yasaka thought as she crushes the gem in her hand before throwing it to the ground. The remains of the gem exploded right beneath Yasaka as she was engulfed in swirls of black flames. The swirls grew in force, becoming a maelstrom, and when it cleared she was gone, and by the time the other Yaokai and Shinto priests got there it was already too late. Yasaka was gone. Yasaka-sama. Just gone. How could we have let this happen? We must inform Amaterasu-sama at once. Needless to say, the Western Yaokai faction was in disarray at the loss of its leader. The next thing Yasaka knew she was being flung through a sea of swirling colors and lights, nearly blinding her while the pull of the space kept her from struggling. A bright light was seen, getting bigger as she approached, and her eyes were forced to close as it engulfed her completely. Once the light died down, she felt her body in freefall as she was falling towards the ground at a high speed. It wouldn't be the first time she had fallen from a great height. Due to her lineage as a kitsune, she was capable of surviving things normal humans won't be able to, so, falling from a couple of thousand feet in the air wasn't going to kill her. But it was gonna hurt like hell though. However, something concerned her. She was falling towards two small shapes, and as she got closer, she realized that it was two blonde-haired boys who resembled one another. Get out of the way. Yasaka cried down to the two boys, however it was already too late. She was moving too fast as she landed on one of the two boys, crushing him. XXXXXXXXX. The clone could only stare on in disbelief as this gorgeous blonde-haired woman landed on his original. He could only assume that the original Naruto was still alive, because if he was dead, he would dispelled immediately, but the clone couldn't help but marvel at the woman's beauty. It was otherworldly. No normal human should be this beautiful, but then again, the ears and tails were a clear giveaway that she wasn't human. The woman's eyes quickly flickered open as she glanced at the clone. Who are you, miss? The clone asked as the woman blinked a few more times before replying. My name is Yasaka, she said as she couldn't help but frown. I'm sorry, I think I might killed your sibling, she said in a voice filled with nothing but sorrow, showing how sincere she was. The clone nonchalantly waved his hand at her. Nah, the boss is alright, if he was dead, I would dispelled, the clone said as Yasaka raised an eyebrow in confusion. The words boss and dispel truly confused her. How could this boy be so laid back and calm after she just landed on his brother? However, the noise of muffled yelling caught Yasaka's attention as she looked down and noticed a mop of spiky blonde hair sticking out from where her breasts were. Naruto, for his part, could not move a single part of his body. His body was screaming in pain, but it was subsiding rather quickly, just like all his injuries, although the thing that was bothering him the most was his lack of oxygen, and this woman's massive boobs smooshed against his face, and neither of her breasts were bigger than his head, and for some strange reason, he wanted to play with them. Yasaka quickly pushed herself off Naruto before offering him a hand, which he graciously took as he groaned in pain as he stood to his full height. Man, lady, were you trying to crush me? Naruto groaned as he glared at Yasaka, who gave him a sheepish expression. Please forgive me, young man, I did not mean to land on you, I did tell you to get out of the way, but you chose to ignore my words, Yasaka said. Just got you there, boss, the clone replied in a smartest tone. Whose side are you on? Naruto yelled at his clone, who simply stuck his tongue out at his original. I'm confused, why do you keep on calling your brother boss? Yasaka asked, tilting her head to the side. Oh, Hess, not my brother, Hess just a clone of me. I use this really cool jutsu called Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto exclaimed with excitement as Yasaka studied Naruto closely. He was completely human from what she could tell, and yet he was filled with chakra. She did not recognize her surroundings, so she decided to ask him a question. You wouldn't happen to know where we are currently, young man? Yasaka asked in a polite manner as Naruto looked at her as if she was crazy. However, before speaking, Naruto thought maybe she had hit her head when she landed, so perhaps she didn't remember. Well, we're currently in the elemental nations, more specifically the land of fire, and we're currently in the village known as Konoha, Naruto explained as Yasaka seemed deep in thought. It seems the gem worked, but now I'm in a strange land and quite possibly a different world altogether, Yasaka thought as she decided to play it off as if she was traveling. But before she could think up a story, the blonde-haired boy in front was staring at her with a look of fear and awe. Hey lady, you're a nine-tailed fox, Naruto said in a shaky tone. Yasaka noticed that she had forgotten to hide her tails and ears, and seeing no way of getting away with this, yes, I am. Is that a problem? She said in a sweet tone as Naruto shook his head. No, it's just my home was attacked by a nine-tailed fox 13 years ago, Naruto said in a nervous tone, as Yasaka stared at him with a look of disbelief. But then she sensed something about Naruto, a dense evil presence coming from his stomach area. It felt similar to her own, only much stronger and eviler. Don't tell me someone sealed, Yasaka thought before something else popped into her head. What was this young man doing out here all alone? What are you doing out here all by yourself, young man? Yasaka asked as Naruto was getting frustrated with being called a young man. My name is Naruto, got it, lady? Naruto yelled as Yasaka smacked him upside the head with one of her tails. Well, Naruto, it's not polite to yell at a lady, and my name is Yasaka, not lady. Now will you please tell me why you're out here all by yourself? Your parents must be worried sick about you. Yasaka asked. Well, Naruto paused. Why did he feel so calm around Yasaka anyways? He literally just met her not even 5 minutes ago, and yet, he just didn't get these feelings. They were weird. You see, I am out here doing a makeup test in order to become an official shinobi, and all I had to do was steal the sacred scroll and learn a single jutsu from it, and Mizuki said he was gonna meet me out here, Naruto said nonchalantly as Yasaka's eyes narrowed. This doesn't sound right. I've never heard of a makeup test like this before. Someone must have set him up and manipulated him into stealing the scroll, Yasaka thought as she turned her full attention on Naruto. Naruto-kun, I believe you were set up by whoever told you this, Yasaka said in a serious tone as Naruto tilted his head to the side in confusion. What do you mean I was set up? Naruto said, obviously confused beyond belief. Mizuki-sensei would never do anything like that to me. Yasaka shook her head. Things just don't add up and it's too convenient. This Mizuki person is taking advantage of you and most likely wants that scroll for himself. So, he used you to get it. I do not know why he would choose you, but from what I can tell he's most likely either going to kidnap you or kill you once he gets the scroll, Yasaka explained as the look of despair and dread appears on Naruto's face. Fear, a sensation Naruto was all too familiar with, was now coursing through his veins. He was scared, truly scared. This shit always happens to him. Why? Why would people always abuse him, ignoring him, using him for their own gain? What has he done that was so bad that he deserves this treatment? What do I do? Naruto felt as if he was gonna cry. However, a pair of soft hands gently grabbed his whiskered cheeks. Yasaka kneels to his height as she gave him a heartwarming smile. You're going to return the scroll to where it was and explain to your leader or master what truly happened, and if it makes you feel any better, he'll go with you, Naruto-kun, Yasaka said. Naruto stared at her with a look of disbelief before tears streamed down from his eyes. They weren't tears of sorrow, but joy. Finally, he had finally found someone who saw him for who he truly was. He couldn't help but give Yasaka a big wide foxy grin, which caused the drop-dead gorgeous vixen to smile back. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto sat in front of Hiruzen, who was staring at Naruto with a serious expression on his face. Although this woman Yasaka seemed to have quite the influence on his surrogate grandson, though he had never seen or met the woman before, though he would get to the bottom of this. That's quite the story you told me, Naruto-kun. Do you know why Mizuki would do this? Naruto shook his head. No, I don't, Naruto said while shrinking under Hiruzen's gaze. Hiruzen sighed. He really couldn't blame Naruto for this. The boy simply had too much chakra for his own good to perform academy-level jutsu. Iruka seemed to have crushed Naruto's dreams yet again, though the academy teacher didn't do it intentionally. Hiruzen would really have to change the standards of the academy graduation requirements. Very well, Naruto-kun, I'll see to it that you are given the rank of genin for learning a jounin level ninjutsu, but you are not to tell anyone about this incident, are we clear? Hiruzen said as Naruto nodded. Very well, Naruto-kun, you are free to go. Although I want to talk to your friend here for a little bit, Hiruzen said as Naruto looked like he wanted to protest but decided against it. After Naruto left, Hiruzen set his sights on Yasaka, who had been sitting on the couch off to the side quietly. So, who are you exactly, miss? My name is Yasaka. It's a pleasure to meet you, Hokage-sama, but as you can tell, I'm not from around here, Yasaka said while deciding to be completely honest with the old man in front of her, as he seemed to be a kind and fair old man. Yasaka stood from the couch before allowing her kitsune features to show. Needless to say, Hiruzen stared at her with a look of disbelief before narrowing his eyes. What are you? Are you related to the nine-tailed fox that attacked us? Hiruzen said while releasing his killer intent while Yasaka shook her head. No, I am not. The fox that most likely attacked you was a Yoko. They are known to be very cruel and vicious and have a strong hatred for humans. I, on the other hand, am a kitsune, a benevolent being. We will not cause harm to humans unless given probable cause. I mean you and no one in this village any harm, Yasaka said in a calm tone while her tail swayed from side to side. Hiruzen did not take his gaze off Yasaka. I'll take your word for it for now, but if you show any sign of being a rabid beast, we will seal you away, Hiruzen said in a serious tone as Yasaka nodded. I won't dream of it, though there's something I wish to ask you. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow, and what might that be? Yasaka glared at the old man. The fox you speak of, the Yoko, it's sealed inside of Naruto, isn't it? Hiruzen was taken back by this information, however, he couldn't help but rub his forehead as he sighed. Yes, it is, but I must ask you not to tell Naruto-kun about it, Hiruzen said before Yasaka slammed her fist down on his desk, forming a large crack in the desk, causing the old man to jump. Are you insane? Have you seen what those things you call villagers are doing out there? They openly curse him, calling him a demon, and I can only imagine what else they're planning to do to him when he's alone. He obviously doesn't know why they're doing that, so I ask you why haven't you told him? Yasaka said while she hadn't raised her voice not once. Hiruzen was taken back by this as he couldn't help but turn away from the fox woman in front of him. The lines in his forehead were clear as day showing just how old he truly was. I wanted to give him a childhood that he could enjoy and what? Obviously, that failed. I can clearly see the psychological damage done to him. If you don't tell him soon I will. It's better that way because eventually if he does find out later, and it could cause him to defect from this village, believe me, I know what happens when you keep secrets away from people. It can cause a shift in someone's personality and completely change who they are as a person. Has such of a pure-hearted child, but he could become a cold-blooded monster if left in the dark for too long, Yasaka said in a rather harsh tone. Hiruzen had never really thought of that. He thought implanting the idea of becoming Hokage would be enough to keep Naruto from tipping over the edge. There was so much that I've kept from him, as I thought I was keeping him safe. Perhaps you're right, Hiruzen said with a look of sadness in his eyes. I have a suggestion though, Yasaka said. Hiruzen glanced at the fox woman before him as he raised an eyebrow, and what might that be? Yasaka gave him a smile. It'll keep Naruto from falling into that endless pit of despair. Allow me to care for him. He's such of a pure-hearted boy, and I would hate to see him turn. Plus, he will be quite the looker when he gets older. Yasaka said while licking her lips as her tails began to sway back and forth a bit faster. Hiruzen for the first time in his life was jealous of Naruto. What would you do, Minato, if you were still alive? Hiruzen thought to himself. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto lazily walked down the main street of Konoha. He should be happy right now, and yet he wasn't. He was one step closer to becoming Hokage, but it felt almost bittersweet. He felt as if he didn't truly obtain the rank of genin. It felt like it was given to him, which was something he never wanted to begin with. If he could turn it through his own hard work, tears, sweat, and blood, he didn't want it, but he wasn't about to deny it. Either he would just have to work that much harder to prove himself worthy of the title of Hokage. The usual big grin he wore was replaced by a frown. He was ignoring all the looks and all the chatter the villagers and shinobi sent his way. His mind began to wander towards his academy teacher Mizuki. Why would he do that to him? What had he done that was so bad to make his teacher hate him so much? Did Iruka hate him just as much as well? I found you, Naruto. Naruto lazily turned around and saw Iruka staring at him, as the man had a look of anger and disappointment on his face. However, Iruka was surprised by the lack of reaction he got out of Naruto, who seemed to be more lost in his thoughts. What is it, Iruka-sensei? Because I'm really not in the mood, so whatever you want to scold me about, do it now, Naruto said. His voice sounded almost emotionless. Iruka was taken back by this. What happened to Naruto? Naruto, do you know how much trouble you're in right now? Iruka said, trying to speak as calmly as possible, while not trying to gather the attention of everyone around them. If you were talking about the scroll, I already returned it to Jiji. I found out that Mizuki-sensei set me up. He told me to take the scroll and meet him in the woods. Luckily for me, a friend of mine was able to show me that Mizuki had ulterior motives, Naruto said softly before turning around to walk away from Iruka. And for the record, sensei, this wouldn't have happened if you would have helped me with the clone technique. But no, you're just like everyone else in this village, Naruto said harshly before making his way back towards his apartment. Iruka stood there, his mouth agape similar to a fish gasping for breath while being out of the water. Iruka thought to himself as he watched Naruto disappear into the distance. He couldn't help but feel responsible for this, while in all actuality he was responsible for this. XXXXXXXXX. A young man with white shoulder-length hair with a slight hint of blue to it and green eyes. He was wearing the standard attire of the Konoha, which consisted of a flak jacket and forehead protector in the form of a bandana. He leaned up against the small cabin as he had his arms crossed underneath his chest, lightly tapping his foot against the ground. Where the hell is that brat? Mizuki thought to himself as he was wondering whether Naruto got caught or not. His plan was perfect, using his silver tongue to persuade Naruto into stealing the scroll of sealing, and once he met Naruto out here, he would kill him and steal the scroll and bring it to Orochimaru. Mizuki, you are charged with treason, a voice called out from behind the Chunin. Mizuki whipped around, grabbing one of his large shurikens off his back when he came face to face with several Anbu with their swords at the ready. You will come with us. Failure to do so will result in your death, the man wearing the dragon mask said in an emotionless tone. Mizuki felt a chill go down his back. The brat ratted him out, didn't he? There is no way he can win this battle. One Chunin against 7 Anbu was not good odds. Raising his hands up in surrender, the traitorous academy teacher was taken into custody. He'll get you back for this, you damn demon brat. Mizuki mentally cursed Naruto out. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto walked up to the door leading to his apartment, pulling out his key and unlocking the door. Upon entering his apartment, Naruto came face to face with Hiruzen and Yasaka sitting at his small crummy table. Yasaka. Jiji. What are you guys doing here? Naruto asked confused. Hiruzen gave a deep sigh. Naruto-kun, come sit with us, we have much to discuss, Hiruzen said, sounding very old and tired. Yasaka, on the other hand, remained quiet as she gestured for Naruto to sit as her tails were gently swaying from side to side. Naruto felt nervous as he took a seat in front of both of them. Am I still in trouble about the scroll? Hiruzen shook his head. No, Mizuki has been taken into custody and is currently in the interrogation unit. But that's not what I'm here to tell you about. I'm about to tell you something I should've told you a long time ago. I honestly thought I was doing this for your own protection. But Yasaka-sen has opened my eyes and showed me that the only thing I was doing was pushing you towards the edge. Hiruzen said as Naruto's eyes widened. What do you mean pushing me towards the edge? Yasaka decided to speak up. What Hiruzen-sama is trying to say is that he's going to tell you why the village hates you so much, and about your parents, isn't that right? Yasaka said while giving Hiruzen a creepy stare which caused the old man to shiver. Naruto's eyes were so wide that they were threatening to pop out. Hey, wait a damn minute. I thought you said you didn't know my parents. Naruto yelled, standing up from his seat while pointing a finger at Hiruzen. I did what I thought was best for you, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said as he could see the anger and hatred in Naruto's eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. All I ask is that you don't take out your anger on the village, take it out on me instead, Hiruzen said as Naruto's eyes widened even further. What do you mean? Well, I'll admit I did think about burning this village down to the ground when I was younger, but Naruto stopped as he took a calming breath. Why do the villagers hate me so much? Naruto asked, well, rather demanded. The truth of the matter is, Naruto-kun, our fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, did not kill the nine-tailed fox. You see, a tailed beast is a creature which was born from nothingness. It's completely comprised of chakra, meaning it cannot be truly killed. The only way to stop a tailed beast is to seal it away. And usually they're sealed inside of humans who are known as Jinchuriki, or power of human sacrifice. Hiruzen said as Naruto's eyes widened. The fox it sealed inside of me? Does that mean Naruto was cut off by Yasaka, who put her hand on his shoulder? No, you are not the fox. You are Naruto Uzumaki, a victim of the Yoko inside of you. You should be seen as a hero for not only holding back the beast within you, but also saving everyone in this village from its wrath. But humans have a difficult time letting go of the past and looking past their own hatred and fear, so, you serve as a painful reminder of the events of that night, Yasaka explained. Then why would the fourth Hokage choose me? Hiruzen pulled out a vanilla folder before handing it to Naruto. Naruto, before you read this, please understand that Minato didn't have a choice in the matter, Hiruzen said as Naruto took the folder before opening it. Upon seeing the contents of the folder, Naruto dropped it to the ground. His whole world stopped. Impossible. The son of Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki, the red-hot habanero. You are also the sole heir to the Uzumaki clan. But I must tell you, both your mother and father loved you unconditionally, and your father asked for you to be seen as a hero, Hiruzen explained as he watched Naruto carefully as the young Uzumaki did not move. But I must ask you, Naruto-kun, now that you know this, what are you going to do? Hiruzen asked, wanting to know what Naruto would do next. Naruto clenched his fists tightly. What will I do? Naruto said softly before he gave a soft chuckle. Well, if you think I'm going to get revenge against the village, I'm not. It's far too troublesome, plus I'm not one to hold grudges. However, I will not become Hokage to a village that is incapable of seeing the sacrifice my father gave, nor honor his dying wishes, Naruto said as Hiruzen was taken back by this information. Didn't you just say you won't hold a grudge? Hiruzen asked, puzzled, as Yasaka also nodded in agreement. True, I will not hold grudges against the villagers, but I'm done trying to gain their approval. If they want to fear me, then let them. I'm not going to waste my time trying to make them see who I truly am, Naruto said as he sat back down in his chair. Yasaka then looked at Hiruzen. Did his parents ever own a home? Because I believe it would be a far better place to live than this crummy little apartment. No offense, Naruto-kun. Yasaka apologizes to Naruto, who simply shrugged his shoulders. Don't worry about it, Yasaka, although that would be nice to stay somewhere better than this, Naruto said. Hiruzen sighed once again. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your parents' home was destroyed in the Nine Tails attack. However, there is a large shrine on the edge of Konoha, and being the Uzumaki heir, it now belongs to you, Naruto, and if you want to you can move there, and it has enough space to house 10 people, Hiruzen suggested as Naruto seemed to think about it for a second. I guess it couldn't be any worse than my apartment, Naruto said before nodding and accepting Hiruzen's offer. Yasaka smiled as she clapped her hands together. Wonderful. I'm going with you, Naruto-kun, because you're far too young to be living on your own, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I stayed with you, would you? The vixen said as her once warm gaze turned slightly predatory as she was staring at Naruto like a piece of meat for a moment, causing the young Uzumaki to shiver. That's sure, I don't mind, Naruto chuckled nervously while scratching the back of his head. Hiruzen was mentally cursing Naruto. If only he was in his prime. But then he thought about his late wife Bawako Sarutobi. It would feel wrong to him if he would ever find love again. It would make him feel like he was betraying her. Very well, I'll see to it that your things will be moved into the Uzumaki shrine, Hiruzen said before standing up from his chair. Now if y'all excuse me, I need to go see the results of Mizuka's interrogation, Hiruzen explained as he left Naruto's apartment. Naruto stood there. All this information he had just learned finally hit him like a ton of bricks, tears freely poured down from his eyes. Well, he was mad at Hiruzen, he couldn't bring himself to truly hate the old man. He was one of the few people in this village to ever show him kindness, which reminded him he would have to go find Iruka later and apologize to him for his behavior earlier. Wiping the tears away from his eyes, Naruto felt something move over his shoulder. Glancing to the side, he noticed one of Yasaka's big bushy tails resting on his shoulder. Glancing at the older kitsune woman standing next to him, she was giving him a smile. Her eyes were filled with kindness and warmth. Her smile made him feel at ease. Her massive bust made him feel hot on the inside. However, her tails, which were swaying back and forth, had an almost hypnotic effect on him. Gently reaching up and grabbing hold of her tail, it was incredibly soft, and the fur was very thick and warm. Naruto noticed a slight twitch in Yasaka's face as he ran his fingers through her thick bushy tail. Naruto, please be gentle. My tails are very sensitive, Yasaka said as a light blush appeared on her cheeks. Naruto instantly let go of her tail. Sorry, I didn't know, Naruto said while comically bowing to Yasaka, who giggled at his actions. There is no need for any of that, Naruto-kun, Yasaka said as she retracted her tail from Naruto, as the young Uzumaki couldn't help but marvel at the fact that her tail was capable of increasing its size. Although I believe it's time to retire, it's rather late and we have a big day tomorrow, Naruto-kun, Yasaka said as Naruto glanced at the clock before gaining a shocked expression. It's almost midnight, Naruto all but yelled as Yasaka nodded. You can take my bed, Yasaka. I'll sleep on the floor, Naruto said as Yasaka tilted her head to the side. There will be no need for any of that since y'all be sleeping with me from now on, she replied as Naruto nearly choked on his spit. What? Yasaka giggled at his reaction. Now there will be none of that, y'all be fine, plus you're far too young for us to do any of the perverted things floating around in your head. Although when you reach the right age, I won't mind, Yasaka giggled as Naruto's face turned bright red. Now let's get some sleep, Yasaka said as her tail shot forward at a speed far greater than any genin or chunin could react to. It was lightning fast as Yasaka's tail wrapped around Naruto's hands, preventing him from weaving hand seals as she began to lead them towards Naruto's bedroom. Naruto had never been so uncomfortable but also so at peace. During any point in his short life, the young Uzumaki was used to sleeping alone in his either hot as hell or absolutely freezing apartment. He wasn't used to sleeping with someone, especially someone as gifted as Yasaka. Although her massive boobs served as an excellent pillow, they were so soft and firm and warm to the touch. But Naruto was too afraid to do anything, fearing that he may bring forth her righteous fury upon him. And another thing that bothered Naruto was the fact that Yasaka's breasts were pressed into his back, which was another thing that was making it extremely uncomfortable for him to sleep. But on a positive note, her tails were extremely thick and fluffy as they had coiled around not only him, but Yasaka herself, blanketing them in their absolute warmth and fluffiness. Slightly tilting his head to the side, Naruto caught a glimpse of his digital alarm clock on the nightstand, its bright fluorescent red numbers displayed. 2 a.m. This caused Naruto to groan slightly at the lack of sleep he has gotten so far, and he had to be at the Hokage's office first thing in the morning, which he wasn't too excited about. At this rate, I won't get any sleep at all, Naruto thought to himself as he glanced at Yasaka, who seemed to be in a deep sleep. Well, at least one of us is getting a full night's rest, Naruto sighed in thought. However, without warning, Naruto felt the world around him go dark as if his consciousness was being pulled somewhere else. XXXXXXXXX. Drip, drip, drop. Naruto awoke in what seemed to be a sewer. There were pipes in every wall, and the floor was filled with water that was around ankle deep. He wandered through endless corridors, wondering where the hell he was, until he came to a long dark hallway, and for some unknown reason, he felt an urge to walk down it, after walking for what seemed to be a few minutes. While in all reality it was only 30 seconds at the most, Naruto came to a large room with a giant cage that had long thick vertical bars. The middle of the cage had a small piece of paper with a kanji for seal. The young Uzumaki looked deep within the cage and noticed a large shape in the back, and it seemed to be alive. Well, look at who we have here. A deep demonic voice boomed throughout the area. Naruto looked at the cage and saw two large red eyes staring at him. Yes, indeed, it's the fake ME. Naruto was absolutely terrified when he came face to face with the very beast that had attacked his home. However, Naruto also noticed another figure standing directly in front of the cage. It looked exactly like him, only with the difference being his doppelganger had red eyes with black sclera. Ignoring his own fear, Naruto attempted to calm his nerves as he tried to speak as calmly as possible. There is no point in wearing his idiot mask in here. The nine-tailed fox probably knew everything about him. So, why you must be the Nine Tails. But I'm sure there's a reason why you called me here, as I assume this isn't a social call, and if it's not too much to ask, why is there a clone of me? The doppelganger seemed offended by this while the fox merely chuckled. This here is your darker half. He claims to be the real you, but that's far from the truth, the fox said, ignoring the doppelganger's cries of protest. You know all of the negative emotions you suppressed over the years, hence the result, and here's a reason why I did call you here, and hence part of the reason. The Nine Tails stated while gesturing towards the doppelganger or Dark Naruto. This is all really confusing, Naruto said before glancing at his doppelganger who simply glared at him. So, you're saying hess my other half. That makes absolutely no sense, Naruto cried in confusion. Speak for yourself, idiot. You are basically the weaker light half, while I'm the stronger dark half. I should be the one in control, not you. All you do is act like an idiot, but you managed to impress me slightly when you gave up your dream of becoming Hokage, the doppelganger said with a sinister grin. Now all we have to do is get you to burn this village down to the ground. Naruto glared at his darker half. No matter how bad our life may have been, I will never do that. Revenge will not accomplish anything except for leave us feeling empty. Plus, just because I don't want to become Hokage doesn't mean I won't stop training. It'll just become so strong that all of the villagers and shinobi will never want to bother me again. Alright, enough both of you. The fox roared, silencing the two Narutos. As the two Narutos went silent, the fox breathed a sigh of relief as it stared at the original Naruto. Okay brat, the reason why I called you here because you're embarrassing me. You represent me as my Jinchuriki, therefore, I will be merging both you and your dark half together, so that way you'll become sharper, stronger, faster, and smarter, because the current you is an embarrassment to all Jinchuriki everywhere, the fox said harshly, causing Naruto to look down in despair as Dark Naruto gave a look of betrayal. Boy. Wait a damn minute, can't we talk about this first? Yes, I agree with my much dumber and weaker half. This wasn't part of our deal. The fox gave a sinister grin. I don't remember making a deal with you. To me you're nothing more than that brat standing in front of me, just a slightly more intelligent and stronger version. But this way things may work out better for all of us, the fox said before raising his massive paws hands and making a ram hand seal. What fuck, Both the light and dark halves of Naruto began to glow bright as they became two glowing humanoid shapes. They slammed together, creating a dense violet-colored humanoid shape. After the violet shroud vanished, it revealed a slightly taller and slightly more muscular Naruto, who seemed more confused than anything else. So, this is who we originally were, Naruto thought aloud as he clenched his fists a few times. However, that wasn't the only difference Naruto noticed. Possibly one of the most important things he noticed was his chakra control was much better than it was before. There are probably a few other things that he acquired from this union, he just didn't know what they were yet. So how does it feel to be whole again? The fox stated, snapping Naruto out of his little funk. It feels nice, doesn't it? To have access to your full power, but don't let this little power boost go to your head. You're far from being the strongest, even with only half of my power, I'm still the strongest, everyone in this village, even your current Hokage and that vixen Yasaka. As he noticed something about the fox, something was different. I take it you want something in return for what you just did to me? Naruto asked as the fox nodded. Indeed, there is. I want my other half back. He is currently being held in the death god's stomach, and the mask of the Shinigami is in the very Uzumaki shrine that you'll be moving into later today. You don't have to get it back to me right away, but consider doing it soon, the fox demanded. Naruto found himself nodding towards the fox. Thanks, I guess, Naruto said, unsure of how to address the millennia-old fox in front of him. But I have one question for you. The fox merely raised an eyebrow, but didn't reply, instead gave Naruto a nod. How the hell am I supposed to get your other half out of the death god without dying? Naruto all but yelled as the fox seemed to cringe at his loud yelling. First of all, stop yelling, it hurts my ears. Second. The fox paused for a moment to make sure Naruto was paying attention. Once you have possession of the mask, the death god can't harm you in any way, shape or form. All you need to do is find someone to sacrifice to free the contents of its stomach, the fox explained as Naruto turned green at the fact that he would have to sacrifice someone. Cold, I just use a shadow clone instead? Naruto asked as the fox simply shrugged his shoulders as if it didn't care or just didn't know the answer. This caused Naruto's eye to twitch in annoyance, but he knew there was no point in arguing with possibly the most powerful being alive in the world, even knowing it was trapped in his stomach. Then Naruto found himself stopping in his track. Something was bugging him, so he decided to ask, is Nine Tails your actual name or is it just a title? This threw the fox through a loop. No one, and I mean no one, has ever asked if it had a name. The Nine Tails felt a small glimmer of respect beginning to form for its current Jinchuriki host. Sure, I have a name, but I'm not going to tell you or anyone for that matter. You haven't earned the right to know my name, but I'll tell you what, if you manage to impress me, I might consider telling you. Now be gone, the fox stated as Naruto was forced out of his mindscape. That he might be my favorite Jinchuriki host. So far, Hess already better than Mito and Kushina by leaps and bounds. Now let's see how far you can go, Naruto Uzumaki, the fox said before laying back down and closing his eyes. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto found himself being shaken awake, releasing a slight groan of displeasure. The young Uzumaka's eyes cracked open ever so slightly, as he was going to unleash absolute hell on whoever had woken him up. As his eyes came into focus, he saw the culprit who had woken him up, and a small amount of blush appeared on his cheeks at the beautiful woman standing before him. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead," Yasaka said in a very gentle warm tone. "I was afraid I was going to have to fill a cup up with water and dump it on you," the beautiful blonde-haired vixen said in an amused tone as Naruto's eye twitched. Naruto then took in her appearance. She was still wearing her shrine maiden attire, however, she wasn't wearing her hair ornament, nor was she wearing her outer cloak. In fact, she made some alterations to her appearance that Naruto took notice of immediately, namely, she cut her hair into a bob style reaching past her shoulders. "Yasaka, you cut your hair," Naruto exclaimed as Yasaka's expression seemed to brighten at the fact that he noticed. "Ah, you noticed," Yasaka said before doing a somewhat sexy pose for Naruto, causing the young Uzumaki to blush. "Do you like it?" she asked as Naruto nodded dumbly. "I'm starting to like Naruto-kun a lot more. The fact that he noticed I cut my hair is a plus in my book," Yasaka thought to herself. "But not to be rude, but I liked your old hairstyle as well," Naruto said offhandedly as Yasaka didn't take offense to it. She agreed with Naruto that she did quite like her old hair. The problem was maintaining it. When your hair is longer than your own height, it gets quite annoying to take care of. "I'll keep that in mind, Naruto-kun. Now it's time to get up. I made you some breakfast, and after you've eaten and get washed up, we'll be going to see Hiruzen-sama," Yasaka explained as she left Naruto's small bedroom, leaving the young Uzumaki so that he may get dressed in privacy. "I get that you want to daydream about your future mate, but I think it's time you get ready. The sooner you get into the Uzumaki shrine, the sooner you can get my other half back," the nine-tailed fox called out from within Naruto's mindscape, causing the young Uzumaki to jump. "Nine tails? Don't yell out loud, you stupid idiot. The last thing we need is either the vixen or worse the old Hokage to find out that I'm in contact with you, so, for now on, talk to me through thought so people don't think you're crazier than you already are," the fox replied in a crude manner, causing Naruto to flinch at the harshness in the fox's voice. "Hey, I'm not crazy nor am I an idiot, you giant furball," Naruto retorted as the fox snorted in amusement at the poor insult Naruto sent its way. Not even a second later, Yasaka came back into Naruto's room with a slightly concerned look on her face. "Naruto-kun, are you alright? I heard you yell out 9 tails. Are you alright? Did something happen?" Yasaka asked as Naruto was stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He didn't know what to do. Could he really lie to Yasaka and his Jiji, or would he just rat out the tailed beast within him? When Naruto didn't reply, Yasaka became more worried as she placed her hand on his head, using one of the many abilities Amaterasu had taught her, before she took her place as the leader in Kyoto's Yaokai faction. "Kid, stop her before it's too late." The fox roared, but it was too late. XXXXXXXXX. Yasaka found herself in a strange place. She was standing in ankle-deep water. In front of her was a massive cage, and standing beside her was Naruto, who looked surprised. Glancing up, Yasaka's eyes widened as she saw two large predatory red eyes staring at her, and the power coming off the beast behind the cage was far beyond anything she had anticipated. The fox's power was greater than Susanoo and nearly rivaled Tsukiyomi in power, the second strongest Shinto god, aside from Izanagi, Izanami, and the Kodomatsukami. "See what you did, you useless brat." The fox growled at Naruto, who flinched as Yasaka glared at the caged beast in front of her. "Don't call him useless, you vile mangy beast. I know how your kind works, Yoko. You all hate humans and have a hunger for destruction. You don't care about anything nor anyone," Yasaka retorted, causing Naruto to smile slightly as the fox's eyes widened before narrowing dangerously. Before Yasaka could even continue her verbal assault, an ungodly amount of killer intent and bloodlust flooded the entirety of Naruto's mindscape. This caused Naruto to drop to the floor of his mindscape, barely able to even lift his head as Yasaka was on her hands and knees panting. "You have some nerve saying that to me, you useless vixen. You know nothing about me, neither one of you do. And don't assume that I'm one of those weak Yokos. I'm a tailed beast, a creature created completely of chakra. I'm not like you, I wasn't naturally born. I was created with the sole purpose of guiding humans to a brighter future. But those filthy hairless apes only saw me and my siblings as weapons," the fox growled as its eyes were glowing bright red with power. "I won't let you use Naruto," Yasaka began to say before the fox cut her off. "You assume that I want to control him, don't you?" The strongest tailed beast currently active asked as Yasaka nodded, causing the beast to chuckle in amusement. "I don't see any point in trying to control him. What would I gain from it? Nothing, that's what. The moment they all find out I'm controlling his body, they would kill him, and if he dies, I die. Of course, I would reform after a decade or two, but I don't want to go through that," the fox explained coldly. "Then what is it you want?" Yasaka asked as the fox didn't answer. Instead, it simply closed his eyes and laid down. "You will find out soon enough. Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell that old Hokage about anything that happened here, otherwise, it may cause more trouble for the brat and me. Now be gone, both of you," the fox ordered, forcing both Naruto and Yasaka out of the mindscape. HMPH. The nerve of that damn vixen, the fox grumbled before it chuckled slightly. She's definitely got fire in her. I can respect that, perhaps when I get my other half back, I may give her a little present, the fox grumbled before drifting off to sleep. XXXXXXXXX. Both Naruto and Yasaka found themselves back in the young Uzumaki's small rundown apartment. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Yasaka asked in a concerned tone as she grabbed him by his shoulders. Naruto glanced at her before nodding. He had never experienced so much power in his life before. It was a little traumatic for the newly promoted genin. Yeah, I think I'm alright, Naruto said before glancing at Yasaka, who was staring at him intently. I think we should keep this in between me and you for now at least, because for some reason I have a feeling with what the fox just said. Naruto began as Yasaka pulled Naruto into a hug, burying his head in between her large breasts. I understand, Naruto, I won't tell a soul until you're ready, Yasaka said softly before she noticed Naruto's arms flailing around as she looked down and noticed that his head was buried in her massive bosom, immediately letting go of the young Uzumaki, who fell to the floor as he was huffing and puffing, trying to regain his breath. Damn it, Yasaka, don't do that. You cold killed me with those gigantic boobs of yours. Naruto exclaimed as his face was covered in blush. Now don't get him wrong, Naruto loves the feeling of Yasaka's massive bosom. It was soft, warm and very firm, and this was something Yasaka took notice of as she smirked at the young Uzumaki, causing him to shiver. If you does Naruto-kun like my large breasts? Yasaka asked innocently, causing the young Uzumaki to blush even more. Starting tomorrow I'm going to begin your training, and if you can impress me enough, I'll even let you play with my breasts if you want. Yasaka offered as Naruto's eyes widened. Really? Naruto said before he realized what he just said, quickly slapping his hand over his mouth as he groaned in embarrassment. Yasaka giggled before gently grabbing hold of both of his hands. There's no need to be embarrassed, Naruto-kun. I don't mind since you are not one of those twisted perverts who were hell-bent on knocking me up just so that they could have me birth them a powerful offspring, Yasaka growled. Naruto frowned at this. Why would anyone want to do that to Yasaka? She was such a nice fox lady. With pure determination ablaze in his eyes, Naruto stood up despite only wearing a t-shirt and boxers. I won't allow anyone like that to lay a hand on you, Yasaka. That's a promise, and Naruto Uzumaki never goes back on his word, Naruto declared proudly in a strong voice as Yasaka stared at him with a look of amazement. Her shocked look turned into a warm smile as she kissed him on the forehead, taking the young Uzumaki by surprise. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Yasaka said with a smile, all the while Naruto was sheepishly scratching the back of his head. XXXXXXXXX. Hiruzen sat calmly behind his desk as he stared at both Yasaka and Naruto standing before him. Just like Naruto, he had noticed that Yasaka indeed cut her hair, and he complimented her on it, to which she thanked him. I do have some good news for you, Naruto-kun. It seems Mizuki indeed was attempting to steal the scroll of sealing, and he was using you as a way to get it. And we have Yasaka to thank for its safe return, Hiruzen said. Well, that certainly is good news, isn't it, Naruto-kun? Yasaka said with a smile as Naruto nodded wordlessly, as he couldn't help but feel hurt at the fact that one of his teachers used him for their own personal gain. But it showed him just how dangerous the shinobi world truly was, and he was going to have to adapt fast if he wanted to survive. Now I believe you said that there was a shrine that would fall under Naruto's possession. Where exactly is it? Yasaka asked. Ah, yes, Hiruzen said before reaching into his desk and pulling out a small map. He placed his finger on the bottom of the map, which was specifically the southeastern border of Konoha. The Uzumaki shrine is quite a ways from the Hokage mansion, as well as the academy, but since not too many people live out there, you won't have to worry about people bothering you, Hiruzen said before pulling out a pair of keys from his desk before handing them to Yasaka. Yasaka notices that he had given her 3 pairs of keys. There's a key for both of you as well as a spare one in case something happens. Just remember, no one has lived there for quite a while, so it will need a little sprucing up, Hiruzen said as he had a feeling he was missing something. It seemed to escape his mind, but he had completely forgotten about not only the Shinigami masks, but also the dozens upon dozens of ninjutsu and fuinjutsu scrolls locked within the walls of the Uzumaki shrine. Thanks, Jiji, Naruto said with a big foxy grin as Hiruzen couldn't help but smile at the boy. Well, it pained him to know Naruto no longer wanted to become Hokage anymore, but the fact that Naruto was still loyal to Konoha was good enough for him, but that meant his successor might be his grandson Konohamaru. We truly appreciate this, Hiruzen-sama. Yasaka bowed to the aged Kage, who simply waved it off and offered her a smile, and with that, the blonde duo left the office, leaving Hiruzen by himself as he reached into the drawer, pulling out a familiar orange book and began to giggle pervertedly. Oh Maiko-chan, you naughty girl. XXXXXXXXX. Yasaka and Naruto stood in front of the large Uzumaki shrine. Naruto stared at it with a look of awe, while Yasaka nodded her head, finding the shrine to her liking, reminding her of many of the shrines back in Kyoto. She did miss Kyoto, but she didn't miss being trapped in the city, and she felt freer here. Let's go in Naruto-kun, she said as she lightly nudged him as the young Uzumaki complied and followed her into the shrine. The inside of the shrine was completely covered in dust and cobwebs everywhere. It was very dark. Yasaka raised her hand as an orb of ghostly blue flames flickered to life. Naruto couldn't help but marvel at the flames, as they seemed to be burning at a higher temperature than any flame he had ever seen before. Come along Naruto, I don't want to lose you in here, Yasaka said in an amused tone as Naruto grumbled under his breath, which earned him a slap upside the head by one of Yasaka's tails. As the duo made their way to the shrine, Yasaka lit multiple lanterns with her fox fire. The azure flames illuminated the darkness, lifting the shadows, allowing Naruto to see better than he could before. Man, this place is dark and dusty, Naruto muttered quietly. I know Naruto, but nothing a little spring cleaning won't fix, especially with your shadow clones. We'll be able to get this done hopefully today, Yasaka said as she heard Naruto whine, as she couldn't help but smirk at him. If you help me clean, I'll see if I can teach you something later today, Yasaka said as Naruto's eyes widened before releasing a whoop of joy. Seeing Naruto all excited made Yasaka giggle. Has such of a pure-hearted child. I really wish you would stay that way. But in this world, I don't think it would be possible. Nonetheless, I will cherish these moments for the rest of my existence, Yasaka thought before she frowned, knowing that Naruto wouldn't be able to live as long as she. It was one of the many drawbacks to being a supernatural entity with enhanced longevity. It was inevitable she was going to outlive Naruto whether she liked it or not. That was one thing Yasaka was indeed going to have to research, if there was a way to extend the lifespan of a human in this realm, especially if she was going to have kids with Naruto. She would want him to be able to live to see them grow and have their own kids. It was something that she didn't want to live through again. Her own father was human, and he died shortly after she turned 9. That event left her mother rather bitter and began this downward spiral, resulting in her leaving Kyoto and arriving here in the elemental nations. Boy. Yasaka, are you alright? Naruto asked in a concerned tone as Yasaka turned her golden orbs towards Naruto's blue ones. She had a forlorn look in her eyes, but was quickly suppressed and replaced by a much warmer look. Yes, is something the matter Naruto-kun? Yasaka replied in a forced cheerful tone, which caused Naruto to frown as he stared at her with a concerned expression. No, it's just you looked really sad, is everything alright? Naruto was genuinely concerned about his first true friend he made. Many would assume Naruto to be dense towards the opposite sex, which you wouldn't be wrong, but Naruto knew when someone was hurting deep down inside. Yasaka's smile dwindled as her eyes lost their warmth. Don't concern yourself with little old me, I'll tell you one day, just not now. We have more pressing matters to deal with anyways, Yasaka said, sounding as if she didn't want to talk about whatever was bothering her. Naruto decided to drop the subject as he didn't want to upset her any more than she already was. Remember brat, you need to find the Shinigami mask, the tailed beast sealed within Naruto called out. Naruto mentally nodded. He was going to help the 9 tails, because he truly wanted to learn more about the fox. It didn't seem like a mindless cold-blooded monster like everyone claimed it to be. It seemed to be a rather intelligent creature, and it could possibly teach him quite a bit if they could become more friendly towards one another. XXXXXXXXX. It was currently midnight and Naruto was walking through the shrine. He waited for Yasaka to fall asleep, who was currently using him as a body pillow. He used a combination of the shadow clone and replacement technique that resulted in him switching places with his clone, who seemed to enjoy the feeling of Yasaka's gifted bosom. It seemed like hours Naruto was searching throughout the entire shrine, and yet he hadn't found anything that resembled a mask. He was holding one of the lanterns Yasaka had ignited with foxfire earlier. However, Naruto came to a stop when he stepped on a rather squeaky floorboard that seemed to shift under his weight, setting down the lantern. The young Uzumaki lifted the plank as he noticed a ladder going down to another floor below the shrine. Naruto descended to the lower level of the shrine as he came to a large room full of not only scrolls, but masks as well. Ignoring the scrolls, Naruto walked up to the wall of masks. Brat, see that mask in the middle? That's the one. Grab it. The fox ordered as Naruto reached up to grab one of the masks. No, not that one, the one above it, you idiot. The fox growled as Naruto gritted his teeth at the insult. Naruto felt the chill go down his spine as he held the mask in his hands. He could feel an immense presence coming off it. Naruto summoned forth another shadow clone as he handed the mask to the clone. Put it on, Naruto asked quietly and softly. The clone wordlessly placed the mask on his face. The clone began to scream in pain as a thick potent white aura surrounded the clone. As the feeling of dread and death filled the entire area, and what emerged from his clone would forever be embedded in Naruto's memories for the rest of his life. Floating directly behind his clone was a translucent gaunt specter with a demonic visage. It was much larger than any human, possessing long, shaggy, white hair, from which 2 red horns protrude, as well as purple-colored skin. It was draped in a large white kimono and and carries a set of prayer beads. The Shinigami had a large tantrum in its mouth. Naruto could only stare at the spectral entity floating behind his clone. Just its ghoulish appearance alone was enough to terrify him down to his very soul. When the death god's cold heartless eyes locked onto the young blonde, Naruto felt his very soul freeze over at the predatory gaze of the spirit deity. "Why have you summoned me, mortal? I'm very busy. This had better be good, otherwise your torture and punishment will be legendary and will be remembered for millennia to come," the Shinigami hissed. Naruto flinched at the Shinigami's voice, which was a horrid mockery of any being he had ever spoken to before. Even the Nine-Tails voice may have been demonic in nature, but at least it didn't scare him to this level. Oh no, the death god's voice, if you could even call it that, was cold, dark, foreboding, teeming with an eldritch power that caused both Naruto and the tailed beast within him. Both felt a shiver go down their collective spines with every sound it made. "Speak, mortal. My patience is wearing thin." Naruto flinched. He was on the brink of having a panic attack. No, it was worse than that. Naruto could feel his sanity dwindling evermore every time the Shinigami spoke to him. Finally, Naruto worked up the nerve to speak. Want the S. So, will of my father Minato Namikaze, ND the other half of the Nine Tails back please, Naruto said softly as the death god glared at him. "That's what you want?" The demonic-looking spirit studied Naruto closely before its eyes widened. The Shinigami reached up and took the tanto out of his mouth, revealing dark-colored fangs. It was grinning at Naruto. "So, you're that fool's son. Why should I even consider giving you his soul back? He did make a contract with me after all, and the other half of Kurama is out of the question, unless you have something worth trading," the spectral entity said with a sickening grin. "Oh, don't call my dad a fool. And who the hell is Kurama?" Naruto all but yelled as the Shinigami seemed to chuckle at Naruto's outburst. "Oi. Stop laughing at me, goddammit. You're quite amusing boy, I'll tell you that much. Kurama is the name of the fox sealed inside of you." Before Naruto could even come up with a retort, a familiar feminine voice called out to him. "Naruto Uzumaki, what are you doing?" Yasaka cried out in fear at the sight of the spectral ghoul floating behind one of Naruto's clones. Naruto glanced at Yasaka and flinched at the expression she had on her face. It was a mix of concern, fear and anger. "Uzumaki? Did you just say Uzumaki?" the Shinigami growled as he pinched the bridge of his nose. "Of course, it had to be in Uzumaki. They are the only mortals crazy enough to summon me." The death god grumbled before focusing his gaze on Yasaka. He studied her for a moment. "You look familiar to me, girl. What's your name?" Yasaka was unsure how to respond to the spectral entity, but she decided to tell him the truth. "My name is Yasaka." Yasaka paused for a moment as she studied the Shinigami's face carefully as its eyes began to widen. "And am the daughter of Tamamo and Kensei Hashigaru." Yasaka finished as the spectral entity dropped his arms by his side, staring at Yasaka with disbelief. "Why, Yasaka, is that really you?" Yasaka felt an uncomfortable feeling building up in her chest. How did this death god know who she was? More importantly, how was it possible that one of his animus Shinigami was here in this realm of all places? "Just who are you anyway, and how do you know me?" Yasaka asked, wanting to get to the bottom of this. "Yasaka, why are you here?" "You're supposed to be in Kyoto with your mother and Amaterasu," the Shinigami said in a bewildered manner. Naruto remained quiet as he was curious as to how did the very being that split Kurama in half and took his father's soul know who Yasaka was. "Enough with your games, just tell me who you are." Yasaka yelled. For the first time she actually yelled at the top of her lungs, startling Naruto. The death god released a sigh. There was no way of getting around this, was there? "Yasaka, this is not going to be easy for you to hear. I'm your father Kensei Hashigaru," the Shinigami said as his form began to change from a large ghoulish spectral entity to a more human-sized spectral entity. The man in question was a handsome young man in his early to mid-30s, with brown eyes and dirty blonde hair. Yasaka's eyes widened as they began to tear up. This was indeed her father, someone she had missed very much. But how? Yasaka tried to form words, but she was overwhelmed with emotion as she dropped to her knees as she started sobbing. Naruto wanted to comfort her, but the death god, well rather Kensei, was already there gently hugging his daughter. He was humming her a light tune that reminded Naruto of a lullaby. "Yasaka, tell me, why are you here?" Kensei asked softly. His voice was no longer dark and sinister, but rather soft, warm and very gentle. "I am here because," Yasaka began as memories of the past she had suppressed for years came rushing to the surface. "After you died, mother, Yasaka stopped. I feel nothing but sorrow, despair, and anger coming from her." Naruto, Kurama said to Naruto through their mental link. "Whatever happened in her past must hurt her. I suggest remaining quiet and don't get involved," the fox advised as Naruto nodded. He knew he had no place in this conversation. Kensei didn't like where this was going. What did Tamamo do?" "She became extremely bitter and blamed me for your death." Yasaka yelled. Her eyes were now red and puffy. She was physically trembling. She stopped being the loving caring mother I knew and would take out her frustrations on me. She would always berate me, and whenever she would train me, Yasaka didn't finish, she physically cold it was far too painful for her. And when I became the proper age to take her place in Kyoto she left, and I haven't seen her in nearly 50 years. Lady Amaterasu barely even checked in on me. The only Shinto gods who ever spent time with me was Inari and Susanoo. Yasaka finished wiping the tears from her eyes. Tensei's once concerned expression turned sour. Why would she do that? That doesn't sound like Tamamo at all, and how could she blame you for my death? It wasn't your fault you were nearly kidnapped by the old Satan faction, Kensei thought aloud, while gently rubbing Yasaka's back. When we return we'll have words with her and Amaterasu. No, I don't want to go back. Kyoto is nothing more than a prison to me. That's the reason why I came here. I couldn't take it anymore, Yasaka hissed, causing her father to flinch. You do know the Shinto gods will eventually find out that you're here. After all, this realm was created through a peace treaty in between the Hindu and Shinto gods as well as the Buddha. They have unlimited access to this realm, and if Amaterasu comes here, I won't be able to protect you, Kensei said to his daughter. I just don't want to see you get hurt. Yasaka nodded, knowing that that could be a possibility, but she didn't care about that at the moment. Well, she was happy to see her father again. She was also curious as to why Naruto would summon a death god in the first place. She turned her attention back to the young Uzumaki, who flinched under her glare. Now Naruto, mind telling me why you would summon a death god of all beings? She asked in a sickly sweet tone. He wants the soul of his father and the other half of the nine-tailed fox inside of him back, and under normal circumstances, I would either take his soul in exchange or something equally as valuable. But seeing as you have taken a liking to this boy, it'll make an exception this time, Kensei said before glancing at Naruto. Listen here boy, and listen well, if you ever make my daughter cry or hurt her in any way, shape or form, I will ensure that your soul is shredded down to its last particle. Am I understood? He said softly as Naruto nodded rather quickly. Good, Kensei said before vomiting up a large orb of ghostly blue flames with a dark red orb in the center of it. Here is your father's soul, as well as the other half of Kurama. Don't make me regret this. I won't, Kensei Hashigaru. Naruto yelped as he bowed to the death god in front of him, who nodded before turning his attention back to his daughter. I'm sorry my daughter, but I must go. If you intend on staying in this realm, I cannot remain here for too long. I'll visit when I can, and remember I'll always love you no matter what, Kensei said before his body began to break down as it dissipated into wisps of ghostly white flames. Naruto's clone, who had been wearing the mask, exploded into a cloud of smoke as the Shinigami mask landed on the floor. Yasaka made her way over to the mask before picking it up and holding it into her bosom. I'll miss you father, she whispered softly before she turned and glanced at Naruto with a frown on her face. Now Naruto, you have a lot of explaining to do, and if you dare lie, I will punish you accordingly, she said harshly. Naruto gulped as he told her everything that the nine tails or Kurama had told him to do. Kurama growled at being thrown under the bus, but he couldn't blame Naruto, especially with the fierce look Yasaka was wearing. I see, Yasaka said before running her fingers through her hair. I'm glad that you were honest with me, but you should have told me from the very beginning. We were lucky that the Shinigami you summoned happened to be my father. Well, I might as well move the soul of your father, as well as the other half of Lord Kurama into you, Yasaka said as she snapped her fingers as Naruto's body was engulfed in bright golden light, as was the soul of his father. Yasaka began to chant as Naruto felt the soul of his father as well as the other half of Kurama being slowly drawn into him. It wasn't painful, it was just a very weird and disturbing feeling. And after the process was done, Naruto lost consciousness as Yasaka walked over to him before using one of her tails to grab a hold of him and lift him up. Looks like I'm going to have to restrain you while we sleep, Yasaka said as her tail tightened around Naruto's body as she was sure to pin his arms to his sides. XXXXXXXXX. The pair of bright blue eyes snapped open as they belonged to a tall and well-built young man who had spiky blonde hair with two bangs that framed his face. He was wearing a full-body blue suit and a standard Jounin flat jacket. He was also wearing a white cape with red flames, and it had the kanji for fourth Hokage. Huh? Where am I? The newly conscious Minato asked no one in particular. It seems we're no longer sealed in the Shinigami's stomach, but rather in your own son. The demonic voice of Kurama called out from behind Minato. Looking behind himself, Minato came face to face with a dark brown version of Kurama who was on his hunches. Indeed, it's been quite a while, other half. The bright orange Kurama called out from within the cage he was trapped in. All the while Naruto stood there gasping like a fish staring at his father. Ad. Naruto cried as he rushed towards his father. Minato was completely taken by surprise when Naruto embedded his fist deep within his father's stomach. Minato hunched forward with a pained expression on his face. Why did you do it? Why did you seal Kurama inside me? Do you have any idea how hard it's been? I was kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 4 and lived on the street for nearly a month before. Naruto gripped his father tightly as he buried his face into his father's vest as he cried out his pain and frustrations. Minato couldn't help but stare at his son with sadness in his eyes. He could clearly see both the physical and psychological damage done to his son. It hurt him deep down inside, but he wished for a different outcome. Naruto, Minato called out softly as Naruto pulled his face away from his father's vest, staring him in the eyes. Minato frowned as he saw the pain in his son's eyes. How old are you? Minato asked, fighting the urge to flinch. Wiped his tears out of his eyes. Naruto answered, I am 12, I'm going to be 13 in a few months. Minato's eyes widened in shock at how much time had passed by, and the guilt began to build up inside of him. He had missed much of his son's life. Clenching his fists tightly, Minato released a sigh as he relaxed his fists. Almost 13, huh, man, I must be the worst father in the world, Minato muttered to himself, though Naruto and the two Kuramas heard him loud and clear. No, you're wrong, Minato, Yin Kurama replied in his deep demonic voice, before turning his attention towards his other half Shinji. Don't blame yourself for the death of Kushina, it's not your fault, it's that masked man's fault. If it weren't for him, none of this would have ever happened, but things happen for a reason. The fact that your son undid the Reaper death seal and managed to get not only me but you here must be the god's way of trying to make it up to you and me and your son, Yin Kurama finished. As much as I hated Kushina, my other half is right, Yang Kurama said before offering a grin. You sealed me inside of your son to use as a force to take down that masked bastard, and I believe it's about time me and my other half reunite with one another. If your brat is truly going to master my power, he might as well master it as a whole and not half, and in order to do that, you're going to have to remove this cage for us to fully bond, the bright orange fox grumbled. Minato then glanced at his son again with a frown. Naruto, how exactly did you undo the Reaper death seal? Minato asked as Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head as he told his father everything that happened, from him stealing the scroll of sealing to Yasaka arriving in this world, and even him arriving in the Uzumaki shrine and learning the truth from Hiruzen. Well, that certainly is a lot to take in, Minato said before walking past his son and arriving at the cage. Minato frowned. He didn't really want to open the cage, but both halves of the Nine Tails, or rather Kurama, were correct. They would have to bond with Naruto in order for him to use their power, similar to how Killer Bee the Eight Tails Jinchuriki was. Naruto, stand before me and lift your shirt, Minato commanded, or as Kushina would put it, Hokage mode. Naruto walked before his father and lifted his shirt. As Minato crouched down, the tips of his fingers began to glow blue. Minato placed his fingers against his son's stomach as the 8 trigram seal swirled open. The seal tag on the cage began to burn away as the cage doors flew open. Yang Kurama made his way over to his other half as the two melded together, forming a much larger Kurama who is roughly 3 times bigger. Ah, that's much better, the fox said while stretching his limbs. Alright brat, starting tomorrow night we will practice using my chakra in here, and I believe it will be best if your father stayed here for a while, so he can teach you a thing or two, the fox said before laying down and closing his eyes. Are you really going to stay, Dad? Naruto asked, hoping that his father would at least stay for a little while so he could get to know him. Sure, son, I owe you that much, Minato said. Well, in all reality there was no way he could pay his son back for all the hell he went through, although I would like to meet this Yasaka person, she sounds very nice, plus, I need to lay down some ground rules with her, Minato said as he hugged his son one more time before Naruto left the mindscape. This left Minato alone as he wandered over to Kurama before leaning up against him and closing his eyes. XXXXXXXXX. It had been 6 days since Yasaka had reunited with her father, as did Naruto. It was quite interesting seeing his father take over one of his shadow clones and transform into himself, although this left Yasaka quite surprised, although she gave Minato a piece of her mind, and Minato accepted the verbal lashing she gave him, and he told her not to do anything unsightly to his son, otherwise he would find a way to seal her away. And in those 6 days Naruto had made amazing progress. Not only had he mastered both the tree and water walking exercises, but he also began to learn magic from Yasaka, which for Naruto was like trying to pull teeth, though in the end, Naruto was capable of finally forming a magic circle, allowing him to finally use magic, and finally, with Kurama, Naruto was finally able to use a small portion of the fox's chakra without his body being overloaded by the power. While Kurama was filtering out the hatred and malefic intent from his chakra, it was still too much for Naruto to fully utilize. Naruto was getting ready to go back to the academy for team placement. Naruto was both excited and nervous at the same time. He wondered who is going to be on his team. He was hoping it will be someone he could get along with, especially since his father hammered in how important teamwork was. He was only hoping that he wasn't placed on a team with either Sasuke or Sakura. Surprised, Naruto wasn't a big fan of Sakura. To begin with, he only asked her out, mainly because he was starving for attention. But with Kurama his father and Yasaka, he no longer needed to seek the pinnet out any longer. Naruto was standing in front of a full-length mirror. He was currently wearing a loose-fitting black and orange kimono shirt with billowing, overlong sleeves, tied by a thick golden yellow Ono stylized belt, and a pair of black pants. In addition to his outfit, he was wearing black fingerless gloves and black calf-length shinobi sandals. He was currently adjusting his Konoha forehead protector, which he tied around his head. "You look really nice in your new outfit, Naruto-kun," Yasaka said as Naruto turned around to greet her, but stopped when he noticed she was also wearing a new outfit as well. Yasaka was wearing a golden, sleeveless kimono-style blouse with horizontal lines, tied with a red obi around her waist. Her blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She also was wearing a pair of skin-tight black pants and was sporting open-toed, strappy black sandals with high heels. One might be wondering where Yasaka and Naruto got the money to buy new outfits for themselves. It was quite simple. Minato told them where he hid most of his money. Funny thing is Minato was paranoid and refused to put his money in the bank, much to Kushina's dismay. Minato had sealed quite a bit of money into several sealing scrolls that he buried quite deep in several different locations around Konoha. Since he had no use for the money since he was a soul, he didn't care if Yasaka and Naruto used it. "Hey, ah wow. Yasaka, you look really pretty," Naruto said with a light blush on his cheeks as Yasaka smiled at him. "Why thank you, Naruto-kun. Just to let you know, breakfast is on the table. I want to make sure you eat before you head off to the academy," Yasaka said as she leaned forward and gave Naruto a small kiss on the forehead. This left Naruto flustered as he felt his blood rushing to his cheeks. Naruto froze when he heard the perverted chuckling of Kurama and a groan of dismay from Minato. "Come on, brat, man up and kiss her and grab a hold of those big jugs of hers. She already said she would let you play with them if you impressed her, UGH, Kurama said pervertedly, as Naruto could picture the perverted fox's brow wiggling. "Enough, Kurama. Yasaka already said she was only teasing him. And she was gonna hold off until he reached the age of 16. Minato yelled at the fox, "It seems my suspicions were right, you are trying to corrupt my son. It just seems I was wrong about the type of corruption that you were going to employ. I thought you were going to try to control him through hatred. Now I see you are trying to turn him into a pervert." Minato yelled, "HMPH. And what's wrong with him being a pervert? Being a pervert is awesome." The strongest-tailed beast retorted. "No, it is not. My idiotic sensei Jiraiya is living proof of that. Especially with that perverted trash he calls a book." Minato argued back while the fox growled in response. "How dare you refer to that divine literature in such a way? Fortunately for me, I was able to leak out a small amount of my power and take on human form despite me being sealed within Kushina, and I quickly became Lord Jiraiya's #1 customer." Kurama replied as Minato went silent, although by this point, Naruto stopped listening to his father and Kurama. XXXXXXXXX. It didn't take Naruto long to make it from the Uzumaki shrine to the academy. He wordlessly made his way through the halls as he opened the door to his class. Naruto walked into the classroom and noticed that everyone was waiting for Iruka to arrive. Everyone turned their attention to him as he seemed a little put off by this. He just wanted to see whose team he would be on and maybe meet his sensei before heading back home and continuing his training. "Naruto. What are you doing here?" Naruto turned to the voice that he recognized as Shikamaru. Naruto looked at the lazy Nara with the pineapple-shaped head. Naruto wordlessly pointed at his forehead protector that he was wearing on his head. "You see, Lord Hokage became frustrated with me constantly failing year after year, so he decided to check my chakra levels, and lo and behold, I have too much chakra for my own good, so he taught me a higher level clone technique, and I was able to perform it with ease, so he gave me the rank of Genin," Naruto replied. Shikamaru stared at Naruto for a moment before releasing a sigh and muttering out troublesome before laying his head back down on the desk. Naruto was about to make his way to one of the empty seats in the back of the classroom when a very annoying voice shouted, "Naruto baka." Naruto grumbled under his breath before turning his head in the direction of the very annoying voice, and it was indeed who he thought it was as he couldn't help but curse. Sakura glared at him with both annoyance and disgust. "What the hell are you doing here? This is for the people who graduated, you baka. Don't think a look will change anyone's opinion of you." She yelled out, "So, do us all a favor and get the hell out of here, you useless baka." The annoying pink-haired girl that he used to chase after simply for attention. He could also hear his father growling in anger at what the girl had said to his precious son. "If it wasn't for the fact that I was stuck in the sea Laura soul, I would ensure that girl could never become a shinobi," the fourth Hokage growled softly. However, what Naruto did next shocked everyone in the room including Sasuke and Shikamaru. Quick as lightning, Naruto grabbed Sakura by the front of her shirt dress before lifting her off the floor. "Let me tell you something, you useless, flatter than a 10-year-old boy, pink-haired bitch, I never liked you, to begin with, I only chased after you because I was starving for attention. And if you continue continue antagonizing me, it'll hurt you, do you understand? Naruto said softly, which was uncharacteristic of the usual blonde hyperactive knucklehead. Sakura was scared out of her mind, but all she could do was nod her head, and after getting her wordless answer, Naruto dropped her to the floor before making his way to the back of the classroom. Ino made her way over to her best friend to check and see if she was alright. Sakura was not physically hurt, but her ego and pride were bruised, as well as her feelings were hurt, but she would survive. Though Naruto's threat really did scare her. The entire class had gone silent. Never in all of the students' minds did they think that Naruto would ever threaten Sakura. It was well known throughout the entire village that Naruto had a huge crush on her, and to hear that that crush was only because he was lonely and was starving for attention. That threw the entire class through a loop, with the exception of a dark blue-haired girl who had a glimmer of hope in her heart that she could finally confess her feelings to the blonde. Little did the shy girl know that Naruto already had his sights set on another girl, a much older and mature woman. Sasuke stared at Naruto with a look of interest. What had caused such a change in the blonde-haired dope? It piqued his curiosity and he wanted to know, but he had an image to keep. The popular belief was that Sasuke was a cold-hearted emo, with a thirst for power, and one would be right to a certain extent. Sasuke was more afraid to open his heart to allow someone in. And who could blame him? He was mentally scarred by his older brother, and he was afraid of losing any friends or loved ones he would make. It was at this point that the door to the classroom opened to reveal the scarred Chunin. Iruka smiled at his class, however, he noticed that everyone was uncharacteristically quiet, had already been informed by the Hokage that Naruto was promoted to Genin, but he was expecting to see Naruto up in the front of the class, not in the back. When he glanced at Naruto, he noticed that the normally energetic and always smiling blonde seemed to have a more calm and cool expression on his face, and then Naruto's words hit him. And for the record, sensei, this wouldn't have happened if you would have helped me with the clone technique, but no, you're just like everyone else in this village. Iruka inwardly flinched. As you all know, from today on, you're all shinobi of Konoha. Iruka began as he sat behind his desk. For now, you're Genin, the lowest ranking ninjas, but as long as you gain experience, you'll soon rise through the rankings in no time. So, for now, we're going to divide you into 3-man teams, and then you'll meet your Jounin sensei. Iruka finished as he could hear mumbling from everyone. He heard things like hoping to be with a friend or be with one they like. He couldn't help but sigh at that. Iruka simply shook his head. They should be more worried about survival than worrying about something as trivial as that, he thought with disappointment as he pulled out the list that was recently given to him by the Hokage. I'm going to be calling out your teams, and I would like you to sit accordingly to them after I'm finished. Also, these teams were made and created by the Hokage himself, so you have no say in the matter of these team placements, he told the students turned Genin, as they all became silent to hear the team pairings. When he saw that everyone had become completely quiet, he began. Team 1. He began as the first through 6 were only made up of civilian heritage. Iruka already knew most of them wouldn't pass the true test, but he knew that was the rite of passage, so to speak. Next one is Team 7. They will consist of Naruto Uzumaki, he began, instantly gaining the blonde's attention who stared at his sensei with interest. Iruka secretly gave a brief look at his favorite blonde with his eyes, and then continued. Sasuke Uchiha, he continued. Naruto's entire body twitched after hearing that. He glanced at the Uchiha who was indeed staring at him with a look of interest. Naruto put his head down on the desk, hoping that the third member of his team wouldn't be as bad as the Uchiha. Soft whispers and mumbling could be heard from the many Sasuke fangirls. Iruka noticed Naruto's actions out of the corner of his eye and couldn't help but frown. Glancing at the list, his frown only increased. This last member would either break apart Team 7 or bring them closer together, and the final member is Sakura Haruno, and your sensei is Kakashi Haddock. Iruka finished quickly. Yes. Sakura released a squeal of joy as both Naruto and Sasuke banged their heads on their desks in unison. Iruka was now beginning to worry about Naruto. He had never acted like this. Before he used to fawn over Sakura, and now he was acting like she was infected with some rare disease. Naruto didn't bother listening to the other team placements, as he was dealing with his own internal issues. Naruto made sure Sasuke was in the middle. He was the Berlin Wall that separated him from the pink-haired banshee. Come on Naruto, it won't be that bad, Minato said, trying to cheer his son up, which didn't work. Stop trying to bullshit him, Minato. That pink-haired howler monkey needs to get her vocal cords clipped. Kurama grumbled, not liking the pink-haired girl at all, mainly due to his sensitive ears. Naruto gave a sigh of defeat. Maybe this was Hirazen's way of getting back at him or something. All Naruto knew was that this team was most likely going to fail because of Sakura. Those who knew Naruto knew he wasn't a patient person, so when their new sensei Kakashi was an hour late, Naruto thought maybe he had something important he had to do before arriving. At hour 2 Naruto was slowly beginning to hate his new sensei. However, hour 3 Naruto was going to make his sensei's life a living nightmare. I don't get it, he was never like this before. What the hell would make Kakashi want to do this? Minato thought aloud. I don't know, and I don't care either. All I know is that silver-haired Cyclops brat should feel grateful that I'm sealed right now, otherwise, I would remove what makes him a man and turn him into a woman the hard way, Kurama said darkly. Minato frowned at this, despite how late Kakashi was, he didn't think his former pupil deserved such a punishment. However, the former Hokage's frown only increased as he saw Naruto nodded in agreement with Kurama. I'm going to make this guy's life a living hell, Naruto replied as Kurama nodded in agreement while Minato could only shake his head. Sasuke, on the other hand, looked like he was ready to jump out of his skin. Who could blame him? Sakura had been asking him out non-stop while they waited for their sensei. Of course, she was complaining about their tardy sensei in between constantly asking Sasuke out on dates. Naruto felt Sasuke staring at him. The young Uzumaki met the Uchiha's stare. Sasuke mouthed out help me, to which Naruto simply shook his head. It wasn't that he had anything against Sasuke, personally sure the Uchiha acted like a douche. Something must have happened to him during the Uchiha massacre to make him this way. Naruto just didn't know what. Maybe he would find out eventually if Sasuke would ever stop being so antisocial. Sasuke-kun, would you like to? Sakura never got the chance to finish her sentence as the young Uchiha finally snapped. No, I will never go on a date with you. You pathetic weak fangirl. Don't you get it? I don't like you. I want a woman who is strong, confident, someone who takes pride in their body and has a body that defines them as a woman. The only way I can tell that you're a woman is by looking at your face. You're flatter than a 10-year-old boy. Now do us all a favor and shut up. I don't mind being on a team with the dope over there. But I can't fucking stand you and your constant pestering. Sasuke roared with annoyance, shocking Naruto and causing Sakura to tear up. Sakura looked away from her crush. She could feel the sharp pain in her chest. It wasn't fair. Why wouldn't Sasuke like her? She knew she was flat, but she would eventually grow into her breasts. It would just take some time. Then she stared at Naruto. She felt the hatred in her building up. Yes, he had to be the reason why Sasuke didn't like her. He must have done something to her precious Sasuke-kun. Aka, she growled softly. Wow, I didn't know he had it in him. Kurama chuckled softly. Despite hating the entirety of the Uchiha clan, he couldn't help feel a tiny smidgen of respect for Sasuke. Minato nodded in agreement. Fangirls were the worst. They brought shame to all girls and women who took their job as kunoichi seriously. Naruto finally stood up from his desk and walked towards the front of the class, ignoring the stares he got from both of his teammates. What the hell do you think you're doing, Baka? Sakura hissed, only for Naruto to glare at her as his cerulean blue eyes turned blood red as his pupil slitted. As a small amount of bloodlust and killer intent began to fill the classroom, Sasuke had some difficulty withstanding it, while Sakura looked like she was about to faint. Don't tell me what to do, Naruto growled, showing off his razor-sharp canines as his whisker marks thickened and became more feral. Because if you insist on antagonizing me, it'll make good on my threat. Naruto's words were soft but dark and sinister. After seeing the pink-haired fangirl nod, Naruto's features returned to normal. But who are we kidding? Sakura would forget this threat along with Sasuke's hurtful words earlier soon enough. But Naruto couldn't help but inwardly grin. He was so glad Kurama taught him how to use his latent chakra to change his features and employ the fox's bloodlust and killer intent. Sasuke couldn't help but stare at Naruto with a great amount of interest as well as jealousy. Many believe Sasuke was the type of person to demand power and training from others, but this is far from the truth. If Sasuke couldn't get his power through hard training, he didn't want it. The young Uchiha had a dislike for easy and quick power. It wouldn't feel right to him. He would ask Naruto where he learned how to use such a power, and maybe the blonde could teach him how to use it, if Naruto was even capable of doing that. After Naruto had prepared a little surprise for Kakashi, the three newly promoted genin waited a little bit more before the door opened, revealing a tall man with gravity-defying silver hair and a mask covering most of his face, and his forehead protector was covering his right eye. He was wearing standard Konoha Jounin attire. However, an eraser fell from the door and hit Kakashi on the head, causing Naruto to laugh. Sasuke stared at his sensei as if he was an idiot, and Sakura was tied in between berating Naruto or laughing at her sensei. I take it this is a punishment for me being late, Kakashi said while tossing the eraser away. My first impressions on the three of you are, I hate you all, meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, Kakashi said before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. XXXXXXXXX. Kakashi leaned up against the railing as he stared at his cute genin who were staring at him. So, who wants to start introductions? Kakashi said offhandedly. This instantly gained the coolest pink-haired fangirl's attention. What kind of introductions? Sakura asked. Truth be told, the pink-haired fangirl was only book smart, and outside of that, she was pretty much useless. Kakashi lazily shrugged his shoulders. Well, you know, Kakashi dragged out the no, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams for the future. You know that kind of stuff, Kakashi said. Well, since you were so late, why don't you give us an example, sensei? Naruto hissed, obviously not in the mood for Kakashi's nonsense. You are not going to let that go, are you? Kakashi sighed as he stared at his cute little blonde genin. Very well, I'll go first. My name is Kakashi Haddock. I have many likes and dislikes. As for my hobbies, well, aside from reading, I can't tell you what they are, because you're all too young. As for my dreams for the future, well, that's none of your business. Kakashi said before giving his cute and very annoyed genin an eye smile. You've got to be kidding me, all we learned about him was his name, Naruto, Kurama, Sasuke, and Sakura all said in unison, while Minato remained silent. The former Kage was increasingly becoming worried about his former student. Alright, you can go first, Pinky, Kakashi said while pointing a finger at Sakura, said Kunoichi. Fangirl glared at the masked man who couldn't help but grin at his cute little genin. I am Sakura Haruno, not Pinky, got it? Sakura yelled while Naruto and Sasuke picked at their injured eardrums while glaring at Kakashi. My favorite thing is, well, it's not a thing, it's a person, a boy, and that boy is, let's move on to my dream, Sakura stated while squealing quite loudly. Kakashi deadpanned at Sakura while simultaneously sweat dropping. Sasuke moved away from the pinnet while Naruto made a gagging noise. Sakura then scowled, and what I hate is, Naruto. Naruto lazily glanced at the useless pink-haired fangirl before sneering. Oh, your words hurt me so much, Naruto growled. Kakashi glanced at Naruto before shaking his head in disappointment. It sounds like this generation of girls are more interested in love than ninjutsu. Sighing, Kakashi pointed at Sasuke. You're up next, Ducky, right on cue. Sasuke glared at his annoying sensei. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I enjoy certain things not a lot, and there certainly are a lot of things I hate, and unfortunately, I'm stuck with one of them, Sasuke said while glancing at Sakura, who didn't even notice. It seems pointless to talk about dreams, that's just a silly word, but what I do have is an ambition. I plan to restore my clan, and there is someone I have sworn to kill. Sasuke finished with his eyes radiating with pure hatred. He is so cool, Sakura thought. I need to figure out what happened during the Uchiha massacre to make him like this. Naruto thought, genuinely concerned about his new teammate. I suspected as much. Damn, Itachi, you certainly did a number on your brother, Kakashi thought. Kakashi then turned his attention to Naruto. The Jounin seemed confused. Naruto was supposed to be loud and energetic, not calm and quiet, and if he read the reports correctly, he was supposed to have a huge crush on Sakura, but instead, he seemed to genuinely hate her. Alright, you're up, blondie. Naruto simply glanced at his new sensei before grinning like a loon. Alright. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and what I like is my current caretaker Yasaka, my friend Kurama and my mentor. Naruto stopped himself from slipping up and mentioning his father Minato. Sasuke and Sakura didn't take notice, but Kakashi did as he narrowed his one visible eye. I also like spending time with old man Hokage, eating ramen, training, and gardening, Naruto said. So, he knows about Minato-sensei. He wasn't supposed to find out until he was older. I'm going to have to speak to Lord Hokage about this, Kakashi thought in a serious manner. What I dislike is people who judge others without getting to know them, and I hate people who are unnecessarily loud, ignorant and mean for no damn reason, Naruto said while glaring at Sakura, who glared right back at him. My dream was originally to become Hokage, however, that has changed. Instead, I simply want to become the most powerful shinobi who has ever lived and make my parents and Yasaka proud, Naruto said with a genuine smile. Parents? You're an orphan. Your parents probably were so disgusted with you they left you here and just ran away. Your mother was probably a whore, and your father was a drunk no one important, Sakura said with a cruel grin. Sasuke looked at the bane of his existence with a look of shock and anger. Kakashi's whole frame twitched as he glared at the pink-haired fangirl. How dare this girl say something about Kushina and Minato-sensei. However, before Kakashi could even say a single word, Naruto's body exploded with nothing but killer intent and bloodlust, but it was worse than before. You must have a death wish, girl. If you ever, and I mean ever, speak about the kid's parents like that ever again, I will maul you, rip out your innards and hang you by your entrails. Am I understood, you stupid hairless howler monkey? Kurama roared through Naruto. Normally Kurama would never switch places with Naruto, however, it would be better if he switched with Naruto, rather than letting Minato do it or Naruto remain in control, because there was no telling what either of the blondes would do. Kakashi couldn't believe what just happened. The nine-tailed fox just took over Naruto to simply yell at Sakura. Why would Naruto let that beast take control of his body? Now the lazy and somewhat insane Jounin really had to discuss a few things with Hiruzen. Kakashi then glanced at Sakura and noticed that she had fainted, as well as started foaming at the mouth. Glancing at Sasuke, the young Uchiha appeared to be frightened, but was able to keep his composure somewhat. Kakashi then looked at Naruto, noticing his features were back to normal, but he seemed distant as if he wasn't even there. Ignoring the fear that he once held, Kakashi pulled out some smelling salts and placed them under Sakura's nose, waking her up. The silver-haired Jounin then clapped his hands together. Alright, now the introductions are over with. Formal training begins tomorrow, Kakashi stated. Our first mission involves only the four of us, the members of Team 7. Naruto would been bouncing up and down with joy at this, but since fusing with his inner darkness, he had become much more focused and able to understand and perceive information far better. A survival exercise, was all Kakashi said with a bored expression on his face. Survival exercise? Sakura questioned, tilting her head to the side in confusion, but why would that be a mission? Our days in the academy were filled with survival training. That may be true, but you'll have to survive. Against me, it won't be your typical practice. Well then, what kind of practice are we talking about? Naruto said calmly because he had a feeling it would be the bell test his father told him about. Are we talking about teamwork exercises, or are you going to simply try to kill us and see which one of us survives? Naruto said as Sakura paled. Sasuke shifted uncomfortably, while Kakashi simply stared at the young Uzumaki with a look of surprise. Goodness no. Kakashi yelled. There went his element of surprise to scare them, or at least the young Uzumaki. How in the name of the almighty log does he know that? Don't tell me he already knows about the bell test. Kakashi thought as he narrowed his eye. It seems like you spooked him, Kurama chuckled darkly, while Minato remained quiet, still fuming over what the pink-haired girl said about his son. The practice exercise is meant to weed out the weak. Out of the 27 graduates of the academy, only 9 will actually be accepted as genin, the other 18 must go back for more training. Naruto's eye twitched in annoyance. A single bead of sweat rolled down Sasuke's forehead. Sakura was having a nervous breakdown. I can't fail, that means I won't be with Sasuke anymore. This is a mission of love, and I will not fail. Sakura thought. Kakashi I smiled at his cute little genin. Alright, my little Rugrats meet me at training ground 7 tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and I suggest you don't eat breakfast, otherwise, you may throw up, Kakashi said before vanishing into a swirl of leaves. Naruto was the first one to leave as he simply jumped off the top of the academy building and began making his way to the Uzumaki shrine. Sasuke was the second to leave as he didn't want to be pestered by the bane of his existence anymore. Sakura was far too distracted by everything Kakashi said to notice that she was the last one there. XXXXXXXXX. Kakashi was currently standing outside of the Hokage's office. He was about to knock on the door when he heard 2 voices. The first voice was obviously the voice of the third Hokage, however, the second voice was the voice of a woman. I'm glad that you've told me this, Yasaka. The fact that Naruto-kun has made this much progress under your watchful eye, as well as gaining some ground with the 9 tails as well, Hiruzen said in a proud tone. Indeed, Hiruzen-sama, the woman's voice spoke. Kakashi assumed that this was Yasaka. Naruto-kun has made tremendous progress, especially with the 9 tails, and has already mastered the tree walking and water walking exercises, so his chakra control should be better than before. Right now, I need to focus on his atrocious taijutsu. I'm glad to hear it. Naruto-kun will go further than anyone else in this current generation, and I'm not saying that because of him being the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. I say that because he has nearly limitless potential, and it makes me quite annoyed and rather angry that no one would take the time to realize this, and I hope with Kakashi, the both of you will be able to pull it out of him. Hiruzen said. I as well, Hiruzen-sama, although from what I've read about Haddock-san and his teaching methods, I don't have much faith in him to begin with, and if he does anything to harm Naruto in any way, shape or form, I will burn him to ash. Yasaka hissed as Kakashi flinched at the harshness of her tone. Pardon me, Hiruzen-sama, it appears we have someone eavesdropping on our conversation, Yasaka stated as Kakashi's eyes widened, as he was about to turn tail and run. The door opened as a delicate hand gripped his shoulder. Leaving so soon, Haddock-san, Yasaka said in a sickly sweet tone as she dragged the silver-haired scarecrow into the Hokage's office. The most beautiful woman, said Jounin, had ever set his sights on. The glare he was getting from Hiruzen kept him from fantasizing about the woman in front of him. Kakashi, Hiruzen said clearly and softly, is there a reason why you were eavesdropping on our conversation? I spit it out, Kakashi, my patience is wearing thin. I came to report that Naruto willingly switched with the 9 tails. It happened when Sakura berated Minato-sensei and Kushina. Also, Naruto seems to know that He's Minato-sensei's son, Kakashi said in a shaky tone. I'm already well aware of both of those things, Kakashi. You have nothing to worry about, you're dismissed, Hiruzen said as Kakashi tried to say another thing when a single glare from Yasaka shut him up. With that, Kakashi left the office more confused than he was before. He was Naruto-sensei, shouldn't he be informed about this? XXXXXXXXX. Naruto was currently sitting in the large bath that Yasaka had installed into the Uzumaki shrine. He had his back turned to Yasaka, who is currently in the corner getting washed up before getting in the bath herself. Naruto-kun, is everything alright? You seem a bit out of it, Yasaka asked, who had finished washing up as she had a towel wrapped around her body which left little to the imagination. Naruto blushed as he looked away before he began to speak. It's just that, my new sensei Kakashi, Naruto began as Yasaka scowled at the name of the silver-haired Jounin. I don't know what to think of him. He doesn't seem to take anything seriously, and his attitude is seriously getting on my nerves, and the fact that he was 3 hours late today. Yasaka twitched after hearing that Kakashi was 3 hours late. Oh, she was definitely going to burn him, very slowly. How unprofessional. He's supposed to set an example for you and the rest of your teammates. Perhaps I should come with you tomorrow, so I can teach him a lesson lesson, Yasaka growled softly as Naruto shook his head. I appreciate the offer Yasaka, but no, I need to deal with this on my own, plus he said we are to be at the training field at 5 AM, and he suggested that we don't eat breakfast, Naruto said as he could feel Yasaka's spiritual power becoming more agitated by the second. If that's the case, it'll be sure to make you a big breakfast tomorrow, and you are going to the training field at 8:30, Yasaka said with a sweet smile on her face that caused Naruto to shiver. He knew better than to argue with her when she was like this. XXXXXXXXX. Kurama couldn't help but stare at Minato ever since that pink-haired banshee berated Naruto and called Kushina a whore and Minato a drunk. The former Kage had been very quiet and hadn't even said a word since then, and to the average person, they probably could tell that Minato was angry, but Kurama with his negative emotion sensing could tell that Minato was not just angry. It was much more than that. The ancient fox could feel not only anger but sorrow and grief, as well as self-loathing coming from Minato. Despite how much Kurama hated Minato for not only splitting him in half, but sealing him again, the strongest tailed beast was willing to swallow his pride and work with Minato and tolerate him. Oi. Minato, say something, stop brooding. Kurama growled as Minato looked up at the fox, his blue eyes had sadness and fury dancing within them. What is it, Kurama? Stop acting like that Uchiha brat. You never acted like this before, and no one's ever made you act like this, not even Kushina. The fox grumbled. You heard what the Haruno girl said, she was right, Minato said softly as Kurama slammed his fist into the floor, causing Minato to jump. No, she was wrong, Minato. You didn't leave Naruto behind because you wanted to, you had no choice, you are not a drunk, nor is Kushina a whore. As much as I hate the both of you, what that pink-haired brat said was completely incorrect, plus listening to her voice irritates me, so, stop beating yourself up over something you didn't even do, and if you refuse to stop brooding, I will crush and eat you, Kurama declared before laying his chin down on the backs of his paws hands. Minato stared at the fox for a moment as he released a sigh, if only it were that easy. The guilt I hold inside me keeps on growing not just for Naruto, but Kakashi as well, and I can't forget about poor Hiruzen. My death forced him to take the position of Hokage again, not only that, Konoha has become much more corrupt. The civilian council pretty much rules over the entire village, and I can't forget about Danzo and the other two Leaf Elders. I have a feeling they're hiding something big, Minato thought before sitting down and leaning up against Kurama again. Unbeknownst to Minato, a pair of violet eyes were staring at him from the darkness of the mindscape. Minato-kun, a soft feminine voice, whispering as the figure walked towards the now sleeping blonde. The figure had long beautiful red hair. She leaned forward before placing a small kiss on Minato's forehead, before giving the large fox a strange glance before walking back into the darkness. XXXXXXXXX. Sasuke sat leaning up against a tree waiting for his other teammate and Kakashi to arrive. He glanced at the bane of his existence, Sakura, who was laying on the ground groaning about being tired and hungry, shaking his head in disappointment. The pink-haired fangirl would get herself killed during their first real mission. This is the first step. My first step to redeeming the Uchiha clan and killing you, Itachi, Sasuke thought. A few more minutes passed before Kakashi appeared in front of Sasuke and Sakura. Hello, my cute little genin, sorry, I'm late, I got arrested by accident, and it took a while to clear my name, Kakashi said with his famous eye smile. There was a pregnant pause as Sasuke stared at Kakashi with a deadpan expression. However, the silence was soon interrupted by the annoying voice of Sakura Haruno, you're late. Which caused both Kakashi and Sasuke to flinch at the volume and sharpness in her voice. Come on Sakura-chan, that's no way to treat your super awesome sensei, is it? Kakashi said while picking at his damaged eardrums. Man, I feel bad whoever ends up marrying her. Plus, I'm sure the other villages and the dead could hear her. Kakashi thought before he realized something was missing. Where's Naruto? Kakashi asked, not seeing the blonde anywhere. Sasuke was about to speak when the pink-haired howler monkey beat him to it. Who cares? We don't need him anyways. Sakura hissed as she began grumbling curses towards the blonde Uzumaki. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. Mama, that's no way to treat your teammate. Kakashi tried to defuse the situation. That thing is not my teammate. And I'll never see him as my teammate. I hope he dies during our first real mission. Sakura yelled, causing not just Sasuke but Kakashi's eyes to widen. Sakura. Kakashi yelled, startling her as well as Sasuke, if I hear one more disrespectful word towards your teammate, I'll have you terminated, and I'm sure I can easily find a replacement for you, Kakashi threatened, causing Sakura's eyes to widen with fear, while Sasuke's eyes were filled with hope. A half an hour passed by. Kakashi was growing ever more impatient as he was beginning to tap his foot against the ground. Sasuke was beginning to wonder if something had happened to Naruto, as the change in the blonde's behavior was quite strange, to say the least. Naruto landed in training field number 7 as he located his team, who all looked too rather irritated, especially Kakashi. This caused Naruto to inwardly smirk. It seemed following Yasaka's advice worked. Yo. Sorry I'm late, I broke my alarm clock, so I had to give it a proper burial, Naruto said while grinning like a loon. This caused the rest of his teammates, as well as Sensei to twitch.